Наступна доповідь – доповідь Ділана Beattie, яка називається Full Stack Web Apps with .NET 6 From Runtime to Reality. Для тих, хто якимось чином не знає, хто такий Ділан Beattie, Ділан Beattie – це консультант, який працює в компанії Versatile. Він software developer, а також технічний спікер. Розробляє вже веб-застосунки з перших днів Windows NT 4. Він працює над HTTP API, UX Design, Distributed Systems і іншими системами. Тож не буду затягувати час, передаю слово Ділану і давайте слухати його презентацію.
Hey folks, how's everybody doing out there? Welcome to well, not the session I was expecting to give, and probably not the session that you were expecting to see, although hopefully we are going to get to some of that along the way. Now, the original plan for Fwdays.net, we're going to do it live. It's going to be Saturday, going to live code the whole thing, and I was going to take you through a bunch of stuff to do with building websites and full stack web apps with .NET 6, which is, yeah, it's a lot of cool and interesting stuff out there. That is not kind of how things played out. I got a message from Mila at Fwdays on Tuesday, so I've been away this week. You can probably see from the generic international hotel room decor. I'm in the Holiday Inn Express in Antwerp North. I'm in Antwerp where I'm speaking tomorrow at DevOps and catching up with everything that's going on around the Java community here. Earlier today, so this morning, I was in the Netherlands doing a talk there about systems thinking and failure modeling at Tekorama. And so anyway, so Tuesday morning, I leave my home in London and I'm on Eurostar, and just as I'm getting on the train, I get a message from Mila saying, Mila at Fwdays, for those who don't know her, hey Mila, and she says, would it be possible to pre-record your session? Because there are missile strikes happening and they're knocking at Ukrainian power and internet, and we need all our speakers to be able to send us a video in case we can't do the sessions live. And I gotta say, my first thought was no. Like, the way my schedule works this week is I have Friday to prepare it, and then Saturday I will do it live from my house where I have my streaming PC, and I got my good, like the Canon cameras and the Yeti microphone and the big screens, and because that's what I do, you know, when I do live streaming, I have this whole setup, and it works really well. I don't like doing, you know, presentations like, you know, here's PowerPoint slides and I'm going to talk to the camera and pretend it's real people, because that kind of, yeah. I've done enough of that to last a lifetime. But live coding, that's different. That's kind of fun. That's something where you can really, you know, get into what you're doing and you can show off some code and techniques and maybe get some people asking questions in chat and that kind of stuff. But of course, now it's suddenly like, well, all right, they want me to pre-record the session. And I didn't bring a camera. I didn't bring a microphone. But, you know, I want to try and help out. I want to try and do what we can. So what I've got here is we're being agile. We are responding to change instead of following a plan. So I got my M1 Mac. Now that's part of the fun, because a bunch of the stuff that I was going to show you, you can run .NET on an M1 Mac. That's absolutely fine. You know, .NET is cross-platform. The .NET SDK is available for the ARM64 processor. But there's a bunch of other little bits and pieces that we're going to be playing around with today, like SQL Server running inside a Docker image. Well, SQL Server on Docker runs on Linux, and it's compiled for x64, which is a different processor. So one of the things that we're going to be figuring out is how do we get SQL Server running in Linux on an M1 Mac, so we can dive in and write some code. So I got the wrong laptop or the wrong computer. The camera I'm talking to you now, hey, is that's my iPhone. My iPhone is currently clamped onto, I got a little clamp that I use on a quad lock mount with my phone, so when I'm on the airlines and stuff, I can clamp it to the seat in front, and I can watch Star Wars and Game of Thrones and stuff. So that's on there. The camera's clamped onto the lamp. We got this backlight coming off that. I do have my external display here. I got a little portable HD monitor. Actually, let me get a selfie of this lot, and maybe we'll see. Let me see if I can get this to splice into the video here. Okay, so let me just flip that around and video on that, and so there we go. Let's see if this works. So I'm gonna switch the camera angle here and then click my fingers to get it in sync. So there's that, and there we go. So yeah, hi, we're at camera 2 now. So you can see the live streaming recording setup, and if I just switch that lamp off for a second so it's not overwhelming it. So yeah, we can see we got that's the camera clamped onto the lamp there. That's the M1 Mac, that's running OBS. I was running Camtasia for this. Camtasia just crashed 4 times in an hour while I was trying to put this stuff together. That's the external screen. That's the Techorama speaker gift. Thank you for that. That's a little Elvis robot and stuff. And so I got external keyboard and screen, which I use when I'm working on stuff on the road. So yeah, that is the illustrious streaming setup that we're going to be using to pull this session together today. So I'm gonna switch that back on, and woo, lights, camera, and I'm gonna switch back across now. So goodbye from camera 2. Switch back over to there we go. Hello, camera 1. And yeah, so what we're going to be doing is I'm basically going to be going through the putting together the solution I was going to show you. So basically what the plan for Saturday is we're going to take a .NET MVC web application, which has a SQL Server database, and the domain that we're working in here is it's a simple demo application I've been putting together about bands doing tours and selling tickets, because it's a really interesting domain that gets you very quickly into a bunch of complexity. If you saw earlier today, I mean later Saturday, but by the time you watch this, it will have been earlier. John Skeet did a talk about working with dates and times and time information, so I absolutely recommend you check out John's talk before this one, because he's going to go into an awful lot of depth around some of the concepts we've got here. But the sort of challenges that we're going to be looking at and playing around with are things like, rock band is on tour and the show starts at 8 o'clock. Except when they're in London, that means 8 o'clock in British summertime or Greenwich Mean Time, UTC if it's in the winter. If they're in Paris, then it's Central European Time. If they're in, is Warsaw CET? Vilnius, Kiev are both Eastern European time. So we got all these things to do with time zones. But then also, when a band goes on tour, you want to, everywhere they go, you sell the tickets in local currency. So we're going to look at what do you need to do to get, we're not going all the way to internationalization with language, but we're going to look at some of the ideas around localization with culture and how you do currency conversions and those kinds of things. And then we're going to have a little look at 2 things which I think are missing pieces in the .NET web application development stack. One of them is HTML email, which is, email is really important. You want to send people a receipt, you want to send them a ticket, something, you got to send them an email, right? And HTML email is horrible. Oh my word, it is, you thought web browsers were bad. The things that render HTML email are horrific. So I'm going to show you some tools and some tricks we can do with that. Basically, there's an open source library called Mailjet markup language, MJML. And we're going to pull in Mailjet. Now, Mailjet's built in Node.js, so we're going to need to get Node up and running to get that plugged in and working. And then we're going to look at what we can do with that. I'm going to show you some tools for developing and debugging HTML email templates and that kind of stuff. And we're going to look at SASS and how we can plug in the SASS compiler, which is written in Dart, and what we can do to get that up and running. Now, this might all work. We may have, 45 or whatever, 40 minutes from now, we may find we got a complete solid session and everything's working, we got a bunch of the stuff plugged in. Or this could just be a kind of live hands-on bunch of stuff that doesn't work out of the box on an M1 Mac, and we'll go through together and we'll try and figure out what the details on that are. So I don't know, we're going to see how this works out. Like I said, we're not delivering the session which was originally scheduled, and we're certainly not delivering it at the time and the place where I was hoping to deliver it. But it sounds like there's a lot of folks out there who are having to adapt to unexpected changes, which were nothing to do with them and definitely not their choice or their fault. So we're going to run with this, and we're going to figure out, see if we can do this the best we can. So yeah, OBS setup. Let me just switch across this this scene here. So drop onto that, and there we go. And okay, so we got a little, there we go, talking head in the corner, and we got the screen capture over here. So The development setup that I got running here is I got VS Code, that's running the code and all the stuff on that. I've got the .NET SDK installed, so this is, it's iTerm 2 running on Mac OS. This is, just show you what we've actually got here. So about this Mac, it's Mac OS Monterey on the 14-inch M1 MacBook. So this thing, if you've not seen it, it doesn't have an Intel chip in it. It's the new generation of MacBooks. It's got an ARM 64 chip in it, which is pretty amazing, but it's not compatible. So a bunch of code works and a bunch of code doesn't work until you recompile it. And sometimes you find stuff where half of it's been recompiled and half of it hasn't. And yeah, okay, so right, let's see what we can see. So I got iTerm up and running here. I got PowerShell. I got .NET -- version here. That's going to give me, so we got the .NET SDK 6.0.2. And now earlier today, I started putting together just a kind of very simple outline of the project that we're working on here. It's called TicketApp or TicketApp or Ticket. I don't know, naming things is hard, right? So we got TicketApp in there, and we're going to take a look in here. So I got a TicketApp website. Now this thing, all I got as far as doing so far is plugging in, we got the standard kind of MVC model view controller application stuff in here. I've created a data project and started just fleshing out a couple of the little things we're going to need. So we got a class here representing an artist with a GUID ID and a name. Now first thing we're going to learn, name here is that's been underlined because this is .NET 6, and by default .NET 6 does not like you having null anywhere. So this is like, hey, if you just do new artist, then name is going to be null in here. So we're going to drop a default value in that. And this is, oh yeah, and I got an external keyboard here, which is running I think a Windows PC keyboard layout, but of course the operating system is Mac OS. So yeah, it's fun and games. We got a whole bunch of stuff to figure out here. So we got a class there representing an artist. So an artist performs at a venue, which has ID. We'll drop in some default strings on these things. Name equals that, and address equals that, and that's pretty looking good. And then we got a concert. And so a concert is what happens when an artist performs at a venue. And so we know we have this kind of interesting thing, like when you instantiate a concert. Now, you shouldn't just go new concert, because we're going to be rehydrating this stuff. The idea, we're going to have an entity framework, DB context running behind all this. But if you spin up a concert that, you know, is just like a new concert we're about to inflate with data, what should do? So what I'm going to do for now, and maybe we'll change this over the course of the session, is I'm going to say artist equals new, and so that just means you create a new concert. You're going to go, now why is that? Oh, it's just because I missed the semicolon there. And so the venue equals a new one of those. So if we create a new concert, we don't get any nulls. We got now a couple of other things you'll notice here. We got a date time here for when did the doors open, and we got a date time here for the stage time. Because all the really keen fans, they're going to get here at doors open, so they can get in. Let me just whack up the font. How do I enlarge that? There we go. That's looking a little better. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up the Shift Command P, Preferences, Settings, UI. I'm going to whack up the editor font size here to 20, just to make that a little bit more readable. And then bang out of that. And now when I drop the UI, okay, that's looking... It looks all right to me, but hey, I'm only like 2 feet away. But you know what? It's an online session. Go take this down to the living room, put it up on your big TV, like, or watch it on your high definition monitor. If you're watching this from the back of a crowded movie theater thing, where you got a little screen down the front, you're doing it wrong, because online conferences, you shouldn't have to do that, right? So, and yeah, we got down here, we got a date time when the doors open, and we got a date time for the stage time, and yeah, that's all looking pretty good. All right, so, and then I got a database context. So this is a TicketApp DB context, which inherits from DB context. We're using Entity Framework Core on this. I'm going to pull that in, and that's warning me about, yeah, so I'm going to put default values on these things, so we get a default initialization on all of that. Why is that complaining? Right, now, I'm occasionally going to be looking down over here, because on the other screen, which is this one over here, oh, let me move that down out of the way. It's where I have my notes, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I'm showing you today is stuff that I've done for real on a project that I'm not allowed to show you. So I'm going to be cherry picking little pieces from GitHub and dropping those in across here. Now, as I said, the project one, I'm not allowed to show it to you because it's proprietary, it's closed source. Also, it was built on Windows and has never been built or run on an M1 Mac. So we're going to learn a lot from that as we go along here. So what I need to drop in here, what are we looking for? Yeah, I need the default value. What can I initialize these things with? And that's not letting me do a new thing on that. I think I probably need to drop in a hash set rather than that. But let me take a look at a sane default for those things. So I got a data project over here and I'm digging into that. And no, okay, so project I'm cribbing from, we don't enforce nullables. All right, so let's check it. Let's get the Google out and see what this thing is actually asking us to do here. So I'm going to fire up Google Chrome, and what I'm looking for here is db set default value in .NET 6 nullable. That's probably a good search string to use on that. Working with nullable, yeah, got it. EF core, okay, so land on Microsoft.com, C# 8 nullable reference types, yep, that's okay. I'm just kind of scrubbing through this rapidly, trying to find the decent example of what we're looking at here. Initialize a property to null, DB context and DB set. Okay. The common practice of having uninitialized DB set properties on context types is also problematic, as the compiler will now emit warnings for them. Yeah, okay, I think we can confirm that from experience. Let me blow that up a little bit. This can be fixed as follows. So, all right, DB set equals set of customer and set of order, and that looks, yeah, okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to see what works with this. So this is a couple of little bits and pieces that I've not really worked with before very much. Public DB set customers. So the getter and setter seems to be removed from the syntax here. Let's see what we get when we plug that in. So we're going to say that's a set of artists. All right, and yeah, okay. All right, well, the red underlining has gone away, which means we're probably onto a winning thing here. So that's going to be a set of, what is that, a set of venue, and then concerts over here, we plug that in, is going to be a set of concert. Yeah, we have a wonderful combination here. You ever notice how in hotels either the chair is always too low and the table is too high, or the chair is too high and the table is too low? Yeah, we got the chair is too low and the desk is there. Yeah, you know, we adapt. All right. So there we go. We got that in there. Now I'm going to run this through a .NET build. Let me just see where I am here. I'm in. Yep, that's ticky tap. So .NET build on that thing. By the way, the project structure on this thing, I asked around on Twitter earlier today. I was like, let me find the tweet here so I can actually show you what we were talking about with that. So it's always fun opening a live Twitter stream. We got notifications on there. There we go. And so yeah, I went on Twitter earlier today and I said, .NET developers, where do you create your solution file? And kind of, you know, a bunch of people, do we put it in slash or do we put it in slash source? And actually it turns out that what a lot of folks do, there's this this great post from, where is it? Someone linked to David Fowler's post here. So you go into this, find my Twitter, find this thread, and go into this thing, which is David Fowler, who works on the ASP.NET team. And yeah, we can sign into GitHub. That's probably going to work. I need to I can't authenticate. You know what? I can't authenticate because the device that is running my authentication app is currently over there being a camera. They didn't teach us this at authentication school. So we're going to have to authenticate on the backup phone, which means I need to take the backup phone and I need to take it off airplane mode and I need to hook it up to the Holiday Inn Hotel Wi-Fi. So fun and games, hey? So there we go. Settings and Wi-Fi. Holiday Inn Wi-Fi is like amazing. Like amazing if it was 2001 and you had only experienced dial-up until that point. There we go. All right, so that seems to be behaving. So now I can go into my authentication. Now I'm going to move this window over here so you all can't see it, and I'm going to authenticate, and then I'm going to move it back because you don't need to know my one-time authentication code password on that. So there we go. Look, I agree. I've logged in successfully. Check that out. I have I'm redirecting to the landing page here. This is fun. And that's done, and there's that. So now I should be able to open the Authenticator app on here, I think. There we go. All right, boom. And Authenticator says, all right, I have a code. Let's see if this works. Oh, 5. Are you enjoying Authenticator? Tap to right now. No, I'm not enjoying it. It's a security tool. I have to use it. That's the rules. All right. So now that I've signed into GitHub, so this is David Fowler's recommendation for a .NET layout project. And one of the things in here I thought was really interesting is the solution file is at the root of the repository, but then all the individual projects are underneath source. And of course, in Visual Studio, where you go file new project, you don't get that. You get the solution next to the CSproj file, you get the solution 1 level up. You don't get it 2 levels up, but apparently there's a bunch of stuff that works really nicely if you do this. So this is the syntax that we're going to follow in here. So my project structure here is I got my solution file is here, and then alongside that there's a source folder. And then inside that is ticketap.data and ticketap.website. So we got that stuff in there. We're going to .NET build this and see what happens. And there's that. And okay, so it builds. And I'm going to do a .NET run. Actually, I'm going to do a .NET watch run. So .NET watch run is going to watch all of the files in the folder. And if any of them change, it's going to, so as a .NET 6, it's going to say, hey, can I apply that change without restarting the solution? Can I just, drop in onto that and just like patch that method? And generally, like if you've changed the method, but you haven't changed the signature or the return type, it'll just kind of put the new one into that chunk of memory. It's really, really cool. If it can't, you get what's called a rude edit. And a rude edit means, you're going to need to restart this thing. So I'm going to do .NET watch run -- project. And I'm going to say, actually, hang on. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to clear the screen, because I just realized you can't see that because that's going behind my little floating head in the corner there. There we go. So now you can see it. I'm going to do a .NET watch run -- project source / or / ticketap.website. And there's that. The fancy color coding here. This is a thing called Oh My Posh, which Scott Hanselman's coming up in a minute. He's going to be doing some, coming up after this session, I think. It might be live, might be pre-recorded, I don't know. I'm hoping it's live, so I get to hang out and chat to Scott for a bit. And I found about Oh My Posh through a blog post that he put up. So this is Scott's Oh My Posh Hanselman. There we go. It's fantastic. It's a PowerShell plugin that lets you do all kinds of really, really cool stuff with color coding and IntelliSense and the status and build tools. And so I took his configuration, I hacked it around, changed the colors and things a little bit. So my terminal prompt here, this is the Git branch I'm on, so I'm on the main branch, and this is showing me all the different status, see how many Git changes since I last committed, that kind of stuff. The purple bit here, this means I'm running a .NET project, and this folder is on .NET 6.0.202, and that's the name of the folder. And then the little green thing here, I think that's a human heart. Like that's a tiny little picture of a heart, but it's green, which means the last command I ran succeeded. So that's what all this stuff over here is. And so I'm going to grab that, and then down here I'm going to command click that. That's localhost 7072. I'm going to bring that across to here. And so there we go. So that's, you've probably seen this before. This is the default, the home and the privacy and stuff. Now I've already put a method in here. If I jump over into my VS Code system here, and I'm going to go into controllers, I got the venues controller. So this is one that I prepared earlier, and we're injecting a ticketap.db context into this one, and then I got venues.toList. So I just wanted to make it easy. I'm going to drop in a couple of links here. So I'm going to go into my layout, which is this thing, views shared layout.cshtml. And this stuff, although, by the way, this is the stuff comes out of the box when you do .NET New MVC. So this thing, I haven't touched it. This is just what you get for free. But I'm not interested in home and privacy. I'm interested in artists and venues and concerts. So I'm going to change, we'll keep home. Home might be useful. But this one here, so we don't have an ASP area because there's no areas in this solution. Controller for this is going to be venues. Action on this one's going to be index. And we'll call that what is this, venues. So there's all the different concert halls and bars and clubs where bands are going to play. And then this next one down here, we're going to make this one artists. And there's that. And then we're going to drop in, what's the other one we got? Artist venues. Yeah, we'll drop in concerts as well. Just get a big long list of every concert that's happening anywhere in the world. Because, hey, why would you not want to see that on your webpage, all right? So we're going to drop this in here. That's concerts. And there we go. So there's that one. And it's not going to work yet because two of these controllers don't exist. But we're going to start with venues. We're going to get that up and running. Now, this is where I think we're about to hit the first interesting thing, because I got some entity framework code wired up in here. And let me do a build on that. And, oh, cool, that worked. I thought I was in Rider. I wasn't expecting that. It's like, Shift Control V ain't gonna work. But yeah, we got the built-in terminal, but I can jump back over into my PowerShell prompt here. Look at that. See that? Hot reload of changes succeeded. It rebooted and applied the changes without having to do anything, mainly because all I did was change a view there. But let's go over here, and I'm gonna reload that. And there we go, home venues. So I'm gonna hit venues, boom. Common language runtime detected an invalid program. Now this, I think if I stop the build and run it again, it's going to go away and come back. Common language runtime detected an invalid program. Now this, I don't know, might go away if we just stop and restart it, or maybe we're going to spend the rest of the session figuring out what that means. It's going to be that kind of a presentation. That's what we're rocking with today. So let me break out of that, stop that, and I'm going to run that again, and .NET Watch run that. Bring that up, and okay, well, it seems to have built. Let's refresh that page and see what happens. Ooh, not that page, that page. And we reload that, and we get, what do we get? We get, okay, that's better. That's a good error message. Now, I have no idea what the internal program is. My hunch, and there's probably somebody out there, maybe someone watching this who can confirm this, is hot reload doesn't work on M1 Max in this, or maybe it's something to do with view compilation. Like the views in Razor, sometimes they get compiled at build time, sometimes they get compiled on demand at runtime. Maybe it's something to do with that. Error message I've never seen before, but hey, you know, let's all right, so server was not, well, yeah, that's fine, because I don't have a database server, because this is 2022. When we need to run databases, we do that using Docker. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go Docker MS SQL, and jump in, and there we go. This is the Docker Hub page, all about how to run Microsoft SQL Server in Docker, and yeah, we'll accept all the cookies on that. So I'm going to jump over here, and let me just grab. So this is the magic line of syntax that we want to invoke here. So I'm going to copy that one over here. I'm going to go over to my terminal. Let's bail out of that. By the way, I always think it's weird that on the Mac, like all the Control-C, if you want Control-C to copy, you press Command-C instead of Control-C, but in a terminal window, Control-C is still Control-C. Yeah, cross-platform compatibility. Whoa, I didn't want to do that quite like that. What I want to do is I want that without the new line on the end. So I'm going to grab that as far as the S. There we go. I'm going to drop that in here because I'm going to change that password. So this is the command docker run -E. So accept the end user license agreement. That's what that thing is. And then the MSSQL-SA password. This is the super admin, system admin, whatever the SA stands for. I actually don't know. So we're going to plug in something in here, and I'm going to use the ultimate secure password of P at SSW0RD, because that's maximum security and no one will ever know that that's a password. Now, there we go. So we're pulling down the Docker image for SQL Server 2022 here. And now we're doing this over Holiday Inn hotel Wi-Fi. So what I'm probably going to do is we can fix this in the edit maybe. Or actually, I'll tell you what, while that's running away in the background, we're going to go over here and we're going to plug in a couple more methods on some of those controllers and our solutions. So I'm going to go back over into VS Code. I got my venues controller. So I'm basically going to replicate this index pattern here. And I'm going to take venues controller here. I'm going to duplicate that, copy that, paste that, rename that, change this to artists controller. There we go. So there's that one there. And so this is going to be artist controller. That's cool. I'll drop that in there. and paste that there, paste that there, paste that there. And then this one here is just db.artists.tools. Now there's often a point where you're like, this is just like the other thing, only slightly different. And this is often a point where earlier in my career I've been like, I should make a generic base controller of T that just has an index method that db.getT.toList. I don't do that anymore, because a lot of the biggest frustrations and problems and challenges that I've seen with the solutions I built are where we went, or I went, hey, this looks like it's reusable, let's make it reusable. These days I'm like, it's no big deal. We copy paste, we change it. That way we end up with decoupled components. Like our controllers are no longer all coupled to the same base class, because code reuse, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but actually coupling is when you end up with something where it's the code, copy and paste, you are reusing the code. You're just duplicating it. You're passing by value instead of passing by reference. And then if you change your base class, suddenly all the controllers in your website don't work. So there we go. Let's have a look and see how our Docker thing, yeah, that's, boy, this is fun. All right, so we're gonna jump back over here. That's my artist controller. We're gonna grab that. And what else have I got? So we got the artist controller, we got that there, we got the venues controller there. Now, okay, so we're gonna let that thing finish running, and there should be a way of making this go faster. All right, so while that's ticking away in the background, let's have a little think about some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at. We're going to plug in the database layer for this. We're going to need to plug in a bunch of migrations and stuff. We're going to need to plug in some stuff in the backend which makes this work. So I think I can probably start plugging some of those in at this point, and then when that Docker image is fully downloaded, we'll be able to jump back over and inject some stuff into it. So let me jump over here and see what we can see. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. So now there's a couple of overrides you can use. There's a thing called onModelCreating, which is we're going to drop this in, and this is when we run our migrations. This is going to build our database model for us. It's where we get to override a whole bunch of properties to do with different classes and the way IDs get generated and all those kinds of things. So what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to go over into my DB context, which is this one here. The tiki-tap DB context here. So I got my 3 virtual DB sets. I got artists, I got venues, I got concerts, and we're gonna drop in a onModelCreating this. So I'm gonna inject this thing here. Now we're gonna use the this collation here, case insensitive, accent insensitive. Reason for that is if we ask our database for something that is happening in Örebro, now the person typing Örebro, they may not know how to type that on a Swedish keyboard, because the city of Örebro is spelled like this. And it has an umlaut on it because it's an not an O, and English people call it Orebro because we don't know what to do. Now when we search for Orebro, O-R-E-B-R-O, like this, O-R-E-B-R-O, we want to find Örebro, so we need a case-insensitive, accent-insensitive collation so that it's not going to complain about that. So that's the override for that. When we get Entity Framework to spin up and build our database, we want to inject that thing into it. And then what I'm going to do is to inject default values for a couple of these properties. Now you see what's popped up on here? You see that little glimpse? If I put a new line in there and we wait a second, boom, friends, I give you GitHub Copilot, which thinks it knows how to do my job. And yeah, it's kind of right. I mean, that's not the code I want, but that's not incorrect. I did have a thing the other day where a Copilot injected a frame interpolation algorithm, and it actually got it right. Like if you got a frame here and a frame here and a piece of video, then how do you calculate the time of a frame in between? It dropped that in, and I looked at it. I was really impressed. I was like, that's actually the code I was about to figure out. I went to build it, and that's when I realized Copilot had injected a chunk of JavaScript into a .NET application. So hang in there, folks. Our jobs are safe. Copilot is not going to take over from us anywhere soon. So, I mean, I'm going to take that because more of it is correct than is incorrect. But I'm going to say it does. So it has the key. That's the ID. But and I'm going to drop in here a dot has default SQL default value SQL is what I want on this. And this I'm going to drop in new ID. There we go. Okay, Copilot picked that one up. That one, why is that complaining about that? A key builder does not contain a definition for that. Because the has key is implicit because it's called ID, but I need to now map the property. So it knows it's the ID because it's called ID. That's a convention. I'll look at it filled it in. It's on the next line for me anyway. All right, folks, it's late. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning here, but let's see what we can do with this. E.name is required, has max length 100. Do we want max lengths? Yeah, all right, we'll leave that in. That's interesting. That might give us some interesting stuff. Then I'm going to drop in here model builder.entity, and I'm going to say entity of so venue, and boom, there we go. Copilot's figured out what I want. So max length 100, max length 100. Yeah, that'll do for what we want here. How are we doing on the back on our installation? Yeah, that's exciting, this, isn't it? Like watching the little ASCII progress bar ticking its way across the screen there. Right, so we've got a artist venues. We need to plug in concerts. So I'm gonna see, do you reckon Copilot's gonna figure this out? Entity and concert, and this thing entity is gonna be, and let's see what we got here, drop in that. And it's funny, it guessed the last one. This one, it's oh, there we go. Look at that. Okay, so it's now this is actually pretty impressive. You look at what we got here. We got an entity ID. It's picked up the default value, so it's, I don't know, has Copilot figured out that's a convention we're applying, or did we just get lucky? But then we got these has one artist with many concerts with foreign key relationships on it. And all right, this is actually really interesting stuff. So yeah, I'm going to format this, and then we're going to talk through what it's actually done here. So we've got entity has one. So this is a concert has one artist, and an artist has many concerts, and a concert, that relationship has this foreign key. So D here is, I don't know what D is in this context. So concert, so that C should be, let's make that something useful here. So D should actually be, oh, look at that, I don't have function keys on my external keyboard. That's going to make life interesting. There must be a function key. There we go, function F2. There we go. So entity, we're going to say concert.artist with many artists goes to artist.concerts. All right, so I got a missing property on there. I'm going to need to plug that one in a second, which is fine. And then has the foreign key, so that one's concert goes to concert.artist ID. And on delete, so on delete is a cascade. Like if we delete a artist, what do we do with the concert? Now, we shouldn't really delete an artist. Like, you can't erase rock bands from existence. That's just not a thing that happens. But if we do, what are we going to do? And in this instance, I said, well, if you delete the artist, then find all the concerts that artist was going to play and set the client to null. Now, I'm actually going to take that out because I don't want the on-delete cascade behavior in this thing. If I try and delete an artist, I want the database to go, you can't do that. That's not allowed. That artist is booked to play concerts. And so we're going to... yeah, you can't do it. You can't delete them. You can't erase the glorious history of rock and roll. So there we go. We got concerts, and we got venue has many concerts. So I got to plug in a couple of missing properties here. So what's my F key? It's that one there, function F12. All right. So let me see if we can generate variable concerts. Yeah, let's see. We can plug in a property based on that. And that would have appeared on, and that's not complaining because IEnumerable can't be implicitly converted. All right, that's fine. Jump over into entity.hasOne. So concert venue. What was I looking at there? So we got, it's in the DB context, isn't it? All right, so entity, we're looking at concert. So if I jump into concert.cs. Yeah. Oh no, hang on. I know what's going on here. I mean, other than, you know, recording sessions on an iPhone in a hotel at 1 a.m. So entity has one, artist. So artist.concerts is the missing property. So I need to go over here. Yeah, there we go. So that should be a DB set of concerts. And I'm going to plug in that same syntax that we saw a second ago. So this is going to be a set of concert. And there we go. And that is going to complain because it's like, you need to import the entity framework base classes to get this thing to work. I think set does not exist. So this thing over here, using framework, entity framework core, grab that, come over into artist, drop that in. There we go. There's one of those. Artist.cs and venue.cs. We're going to drop in the same thing because of venues. Oh, look at that. It's trying to like generate the thing that already exists. Nice, good Copilot. Have a biscuit. All right. And there we go. Boom. All right. So that one did work. And that's complaining because why does it say set does not exist? Set totally exists. We have, crap. So in here we can do set because set in here is inheriting from the DB context base class. So this nullable thing that we're looking at over here, that's going to give us some headaches. So I'm actually in here going to say get set equals, so what is DB set here? Yeah, new will probably, and that's going to complain because that doesn't have a default constructor. Cannot create an instance of the abstract type. So I think maybe a hash set will let us do what we need. And that's not going to be non-invocable method. It needs to be a new hash set of concert. And that's complaining because you cannot convert generic type. All right, let me check my notes here, see what we need to plug in there. And while we're doing that, in the background, okay, there we go. Interesting. So that's a warning. But it says it's running something, and it's saying here that images platform Linux AMD 64 does not matter. Okay, so AMD 64, ARM 64. I think we're dead. I think this thing is not going to work. Let's go and have a look. So I'm going to fire up the Docker dashboard here and take a look at what we got. So Docker dashboard says, and what do we got? We have two images. That's the SQL 2019. That's SQL 2022. Neither of them is running. If we hit run on that, and we hit run on that, and we wait, and you see that? Boom, exited one. It opened, and let me whack up the size on that, and that looks like a bad thing has happened, which is not entirely surprising. What do we got here? Come on, let's... invalid mapping of address OX400 3918000 in reserved address space possible. Okay, so I think that this is Docker for you can't run AMD 64 images on your M1 MacBook, you idiot. Right, let's ask Dr. Google. What do we do with this thing? And I have a feeling this is going to be the start of another lengthy download. So, all right, what are we trying to do? We're trying to run SQL Server M1 Mac Docker. And there we go. Unload does not work on M1 Mac. And let's have a look. There we go. Yep, that's fine. Not there. Yes. And what we got in here is this person saying, yep. Ooh. All right. A possible workaround following this guide suggests to use the image. So this is Microsoft's Docker repo Azure SQL Edge. All right. YOLO, right? We read it on the internet. Can't possibly be a bad idea. Yeah, we consent to those. Since then, Apple has released its M1 chip. SQL Server isn't supported on ARM. The container image for Azure SQL Edge. Okay. All right. This looks promising. Let's see what we can see. Just keeping an eye on the time on the session here, folks. We're almost out of time. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get as far as getting SQL Server running on an M1 Mac, and then all the other stuff will come back the next time around. Fwdays will fill in all the other stuff when maybe we'll be able to do it in person. Maybe we'll be able to do it live and online. So what I'm going to do, we're going to try this. And what I'll do is I'll edit out this part of the video while we do the Docker download. So it's going to go, and we'll do the whole kind of whizzy time thing. So let me grab that. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And so I want to Docker pull that. So I think what I need to do is let me just fire up a new text file because I need to mash these two Docker commands together. So we got the one that I had over here, which was that one. So let me grab that and copy that and pull this over here. And there's that. There's that one, but now what I'm going to do is instead of Docker pull that one, I'm going to say Docker pull that one. So Docker run, yeah, accept the license agreement, password, port 1433, Microsoft.com. So mcrmicrosoft.com/Azure SQL Edge. We're going to drop in over here and we're going to... Gonna nuke that command. There's a thing I wish PowerShell did. When you press escape, it should just wipe whatever's on the terminal line, and it doesn't do that. But we're gonna drop that in instead, and you're gonna see how long that takes to download. And yeah, all right. So I have no idea how to pause a recording. Oh, there we go. All right, we're going to jump into the future. Okay, welcome to the future. It took a surprisingly long time to do that. I was in Norway last week, and the Wi-Fi at the airport was faster than the Wi-Fi at the airport was faster than the Wi-Fi I have in my house. Like, the internet was just blisteringly good. And then a week before that, I was in Austria, in Vienna airport, blocks port 22, so I couldn't git clone anything, which was entertaining. All right, there we go, 468, 469, 470, extracting, it's exciting. So folks, if this works, then what we've learned today is how to run SQL Server in a Docker image on an M1 Mac, and we'll just see if we can get Entity Framework to talk to it a little bit. And if it doesn't work, then what we've learned today is that you can't run SQL Server. Now that's looking pretty promising. Look at that. Let me just move this around a little bit so we can see it. All right, that's looking good. Let's have a look in the Docker images thing and containers, and that appears to be running, and it's listening on port 1433. And let me see, do I have data grip on here? Yes, I do. Data grip is brilliant. Data grip is JetBrains kind of cross-platform thing for talking to databases. It's like if you, on Windows, you used Microsoft, the SQL Server Enterprise Manager or Management Studio, whatever they call it. And yeah, Data grip is basically cross-platform that. And I don't think I've actually used it on this Mac before, but new project, whatever. No, I don't want to. I just want to connect to a thing. All right, yeah, new project, that'll do. Let's ticky tap. Well, we'll call it that because we'll be coming back to this. I got a whole bunch of ideas I'm working on with this project here. There we go. Okay, so there's that, and I'm gonna go over here, data source. I'm gonna connect to Microsoft SQL Server. And Docker is effectively localhost. I should be on localhost. Default port is 1433. User for this was SAP at, where's the at on this keyboard? Is it, hang on, P at SSW0RD. There we go, grab that and paste it into the hidden field where we can't see it. And database should be, let me just apply that and see. Okay, and that's complaining. I'll download, yeah. So DataGrip's written in Java. It's fine. It's all right. Don't worry. Java's very nice, and all of the different database drivers are JDBC plugins. So that's going to download the driver for that. And yeah, this session has gone off in a slightly unexpected direction. Yeah, there we go. Display other schemas, all databases. Look at that. Look at that, it's working. We got master model, MSDB, TempDB. Actually, folks, you know what? This is 49 minutes into a 45-minute session, and the next bit is not terribly interesting. It's how do you get Entity Framework to talk to a database. So we're gonna wrap it up for now there. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Wherever you are, I hope you're safe. I hope you're doing okay. I hope your families and friends are doing okay, and that before too long we'll be able to get together, do all this in person like we used to. I'm Dylan Beattie. That was a very kind of, bit of an unscripted expose, a couple of little interesting nuggets of the wonderful world of .NET 6 development using Docker on an M1 Mac. I hope you found it interesting. Yeah, take it easy, and I'll see you on the internet. Thank you, folks. Goodbye.
Hello, Dylan. That was a really great talk.
Hey, Alexei. Dobro dnia. How are you?
Dobro dnia. Yeah, I really enjoy the improv type of, I guess, live coding session. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, it was one of those weeks where it's like, right, I got to do this on Monday. I go here Tuesday, here Wednesday. Then on Friday, I can get this ready to do on Saturday. And then Mila's like, can you pre-record it? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, and you saw in the session there, it's like, right, what do I have? Like, did you ever see there used to be this old American TV show called MacGyver, which is about this guy who's always getting into trouble and having to like invent a hang glider using dustbin bags and a fishing pole. And so I had to MacGyver a studio up in the hotel there in Antwerp and get that together. But yeah, I think it didn't, like I said, we didn't cover the things that I was hoping to show off. But we did get some interesting stuff. I'm using an M1 Mac as my sort of main road laptop at the moment. And it's a great processor, and it's really, really solid for some stuff. But when you shift from x86 has been or x64 has been the dominant instruction set for a decade, and so you switch to something else, there's stuff that just doesn't work.
Right. And like you never know which piece that you're used to using all the time will not work this time.
Yeah. No, you gotta be like, I'll just do that, copy paste. What do you mean it doesn't work? Like, it's not a mistake. Like, no, this does not exist on this architecture. I've been doing a bunch of work recently with audio analysis plugins that are all written in C++, and that's like when it comes to plugins and things, that's where you get real problems with architecture, because you can run the whole thing on x86 via the Rosetta, which is Apple's emulation layer. But if like they've migrated the workstation, the audio workstation you're using, but the plugin hasn't been migrated yet, just doesn't work. And so you end up emailing the people who are running it. Can you do this? And they're like, we don't have any M1 Macs yet because they're really expensive. And I'm like, oh, you probably better get some, because like your product currently doesn't work. So fun and games. So.
Yeah, okay. So far I don't see any questions to the talk, but it just so happens that I've prepared some of my own as I was watching it.
Go for it.
Yeah, and like as I was watching you struggle with .NET CLI and like the I guess C# new features like NRTs and stuff like that, I'm curious if there's like anything that you would wish for maybe in a newer version of .NET or C# that would like ease that process, or like something you are looking forward to maybe as far as new features go.
So, this is kind of a controversial statement maybe, but I think the biggest thing that Microsoft got wrong was keeping the .NET name. I think when .NET became, first .NET Core and then .NET 5 and then went cross-platform, I think if they called it something new, I mean, .NET is a stupid name. I love C#, I love the framework. .NET is a really stupid name for a piece of technology because you don't even know how to type it. Is it DOT? I'm running a boot camp at the moment with a bunch of graduates here at a company in London. And, last week I was literally going through, okay, so what we got to do now, type, code space dot, and that'll open VS Code, and then type .NET run. And they're like, okay, so when I say code dot, I mean CODE space and then the dot key, like the full stop. But then when I say .NET, I mean DOTNET. And you just, when you live and work inside the ecosystem, you don't realize that it's stupid, but it's stupid. You know, .NET was a dumb name, and they could have been like, no, it's called something else. It's called DNet. I don't care anything. But you know, Microsoft makes some wonderful, yeah.
That reminds me of
some fantastic technology,
like whole problem.
And yep. Oh, hang on, you just glitched for a second there. We back? Yeah, we're back.
Yeah. I keep freezing. Maybe it's my internet. Yeah, it's just like, as you mentioned, it reminded me of this whole like process of downloading .NET, where it's like the URL is get.net. Like
yes.
The dot is like literal, and then the actual dot. And like explaining it to somebody how to download .NET with voice is actually a challenge.
Yeah. But I mean, naming things has always been difficult. And when you introduce, you know, I remember hearing many years ago, the first time I heard someone read a web address on the radio, and I'm like, we've jumped a chasm here. Like the radio is too old, and the web is not backwards compatible with radio, because there's someone like going, hey, and you can check out the station's website at http://www.oceanfm.co.uk/Steve-Wilson. I'm like, no. Like, this is for clicking on. This ain't supposed to work on the radio, you know. But yeah, naming things is hard. But to go back to your question, there's a bunch of very cool stuff coming in .NET. I was at NDC in Copenhagen a few months back, and Mads Torgersen, who's now the language lead design on C#, he was showing off some of the stuff that's coming, and I'm consistently very impressed at the way C# manages to incorporate things which are, you know, they're genuinely useful in more and more niche cases. You know, as a language goes on, when C# was first created, and when most languages are initially created, you know, Java was the same, C++, Visual Basic, Perl, Python, all of them, somebody sits down and they're like, we're going to solve this set of problems. You know, and it grows. Visual Basic was, we need Windows desktop applications. Java and .NET, they were very much more kind of like a general purpose, object-oriented successor to C++. You know, Perl started out as string processing and grew and grew and grew until it became this sort of slightly confusing, wonderful, bloated, weird platform of a thing. And, you know, C# kind of started out going, we're going to solve most problems that most people have most of the time. They want to build websites, and they want to build Windows desktop applications, and they want to connect to databases so they can build business applications. And then, you know, kind of they looked at version 1 and 2, and they're like, yeah, people are like, array list is a problem, because lots of people are like, every time you get anything out of an array list, it's object, and you have to remember what you put there so that when you get it back out, you can cast it back to the correct type. And so generics was introduced to the language, but it was kind of introduced in a way that didn't break anything. And the syntax was kind of quite neat and elegant, and you know, async and await, I think that's a just beautiful set of features that sit so harmoniously alongside the fundamental syntax of the C# language. And you know, they are, I get the C# kind of, it does most things that most people want it to do as a language. And, you know, if you want to be able to do OpenGL, well, that's a job for a framework binding. If you want to be able to do stuff with MIDI, for example, or augmented reality, or any of these kinds of things, well, those aren't core language features anymore. All those stuff have moved out, and that's the beauty of having a library that runs against a runtime and something like the NuGet package manager system, is you can pull in the stuff you need to do the things you want, and the core language doesn't have to worry about it. And something, you know, async and await, I love, because it's syntactic sugar for something that you could do. Like, you could write the same program before async and await were introduced as keywords, but then the C# language goes, we think this is important enough that we're going to expose it and support it as a first-class member of our language ecosystem. And, you know, the little kind of things, some of the stuff Mads was showing off at NDC Copenhagen was things, you know, maybe 3 times in my career I've hit this problem and been like, I wish I could do that, but I can't. And it's weird that I can't. And, you know, going and looking into it, okay, there is actually a good reason for this. And that kind of just fixing the corners. One of the really nice things is a multi-line string literals with indentation, so you can keep the indent blocks. But it's like, if you open your string with 3 tabs, then it'll remove 3 tabs from the beginning of any line, so you can have literals that don't mess up the formatting of your code. And that's just nice to have. It doesn't make the language any more powerful, but it makes the code much easier to read. And yeah, I think it's nice. It's nice to see language designers paying attention to those kinds of features and stuff. So yeah, no, I love .NET. I love C#. I love the direction it's going in. But every time I try and explain it to somebody from outside the ecosystem, I wish they'd given it a better name. That's my biggest frustration with it. So.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. There's this whole like drop the dot campaign going on Twitter. That
Oh yeah,
usually it has
but the thing,
pioneers.
if you drop the dot, you just get net, and that's going to break all
that's
kinds
true.
of stuff, because net is a command that's been built into Microsoft Windows since Windows 95. Type net
That's
space.
true.
That's not going to run the .NET compiler. It's going to do net share, net use, net map, all this kind of stuff. So I think they need to do more than drop the dot. But I don't know. I mean, we got, it's on .NET 6's long-term support. .NET 7's coming in November. So that next year we got 8 and then 9. Maybe when they get to .NET 10, they could do that. They could be like with Mac OS. They went Mac OS X and then Mac OS X 10.1, 10.2. Maybe we could do something with that, but I don't know.
Yeah, like an anniversary branding.
Yeah,
we are out of time now, but Dylan, will you join us in Discord to answer some more questions and talk to our participants?
I can do that. If somebody gives me the link, I can do that.
Okay, that sounds great. So yeah, you guys can join our Discord and talk to Dylan. He'll be in a voice chat room with me. If you need translation or whatever, we'll figure out everything and you can talk to our speaker directly. Thank you very much, Dylan, for your talk.
You're very welcome.
Just before we go, I just wanted to say that we are having a short break right now. And after that, the next talk will be the latest and the greatest from Azure Service Bus by Elder Gutenberg. I hope I didn't butcher his last name. So very exciting. Gutenberg.
Gutenberg, I believe. Except it's Dutch, so it's not Groot, it's Groot. So I've just come back from, I've been in Belgium and the Netherlands this week and struggling with the Dutch pronunciation.
Yeah, so you're now like going around fixing people's pronunciation.